Evolution. Only a minority of Americans today believe that organisms have evolved through natural selection. In fact, 34% of Americans reject evolution entirely. But why? Evolution is a complicated process, often taking millions of years to noticeably alter a single species. Therefore, it's simply impossible for us to observe natural forces shaping our world. Whether you believe it or not, evolution will be covered on the AP Biology exam. So let's dig right in.
So how did this idea come to fruition? Let's meet a few biologists.
We're gonna die! Stop having children! Stop reproducing!
Daddy, why am I so small?
If you want to be taller, then you have to stretch. That'll make your sons taller too.
Whoa. I don't know if stretching makes you taller, but being taller is an advantage, and you can pass that on to your offspring. Aha!
And today, Darwin's idea is the most widely accepted theory of evolution.
So how did Darwin figure out his theory? Well, there are several pieces of evidence we can point to. First, fossils. They are found in all sorts of places, but there is a certain pattern of complexity according to the depth at which they were found. If you were buried first, you were found on the bottom. Second, biogeography. Why are there similar animals across continents, but rarely any similar ones near each other? How are some species so similar when they are separated by miles and miles of deep water? And why aren't some similar species living next to each other? Answer: Pangaea, the supercontinent. Scientists believe that before continental drift pulled apart the tectonic plates, common ancestors of similar species inhabited the continents. When the continents separated, speciation caused different branches of the ancestor to become different species. Third, genetics provide a huge insight to evolution. All organisms share the same coding language, nucleotides. Among the estimated 8.7 million species in the world, you would think some would have a unique coding material. That is not the case. Not only that, we even share similar codes. Put two and two together, and you come up with a theory of a common ancestor. The fourth piece of evidence is embryology. Have you ever seen the embryos of humans, pigs, lizards, even tortoises? When you compare them at similar relative stages of development, they're really similar. And lastly, comparative anatomy. Some animals' bone structures are eerily similar. These are called homologous structures. Scientists believe that homologous structures are formed as a result of being descended from a common ancestor. Hippo feet and whale flippers are a perfect example of this. On the other hand, some structures look completely different but serve the same purpose. These are known as analogous structures. These structures show that certain characteristics are naturally selected to aid an organism in survival and therefore future reproduction. In other words, analogous structures are evidence of natural selection, the driving force behind evolution.
You may now be wondering how life was first created. But first, what is life? A living organism is defined as one that maintains homeostasis, is composed of one or more cells, undergoes metabolism, can grow, adapts to the environment, responds to stimuli, and reproduces. Anyways, a long time ago, on a planet close by, there was nothing but water vapor, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, ammonia, blah blah blah, and lightning. There was no oxygen. But through a process we now call abiotic synthesis, amino acids and adenines were formed on this primitive Earth. And that gave way to a variety of organisms that now cover the planet today. Remember prokaryotes? They pretty much gave life to Earth by producing oxygen through photosynthesis. Some of them even created internal microenvironments, creating the first eukaryotes. Biologists think that these eukaryotes engulf smaller prokaryotes, creating the mitochondria and chloroplasts. The theoretical process is termed endosymbiosis.
You may now be wondering, how exactly does this whole evolution thing work? The answer? Natural selection. Now, we talked about natural selection a few moments before, but basically, natural selection is the basic driving force behind all evolution. Natural selection is basically nature's way of choosing the healthiest, smartest organisms to survive and pass on their genes. For example, if there are lots of deer, but one is faster than the rest, that deer is more likely to survive, reproduce, and pass on its speedy genes. There is also another form of selection in the form of artificial selection. This is when humans interfere and decide which animals with specific characteristics survive. For instance, farmers breed cows that produce lots of milk by mating them with other cows that produce lots of milk. The result? Lots and lots of milk. Now, this process of evolving and adapting can produce different outcomes. Scientists categorize them into stabilizing, directional, and disruptive selection. In stabilizing, average individuals are preferred, while in directional, individuals that vary from the average in one direction are favored. In disruptive, individuals that vary in either directions from the average are favored.
Speciation refers to the origin of new species. We'll be talking about how speciation occurs. There are two main types, allopatric and sympatric speciation. Allopatric means that the two species are geographically separated, and sympatric means, well, they're not separated. Pretty simple, right? Now let's talk about the types of pre-reproduction barriers that give rise to new species. They include geographic isolation, where the two species can't even meet to mate, ecological, where they occupy different habitats within the same region, temporal, where their reproductive periods differ, behavioral, where their mating rituals differ, mechanical, where their anatomical differences prevent successful mating, and gametic, where one sperm cannot fertilize the eggs of another. There are post-reproduction barriers as well, as seen through hybrids. Many of them are sterile even if they're vigorous, like ligers or mules.
There are several phenomena we should know about. Genetic drift is a random change in allele frequencies between generations. Gene flow is a migration of gametes, which could affect allele frequencies. Population bottlenecks are an environmental event that reduces genetic variation, and founder effect refers to a genetic drift that results from colonizing a new area. Meet Hardy and Weinberg. They basically propose an equation that measures evolutionary change within a population. To use this, we must assume a non-evolving population, which means a large size, no migration, no net mutations, random mating, and no natural selection. As you can imagine, practically no living population on Earth is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium.
Now that we learned about evolution, we wish you the best in your preparation for the AP Biology exam. Thank you for watching!